we are here this afternoon to look at SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, through the eyes of science, technology, and innovations. Really, for me, whenever I talk to the press, I say what I've said in English, then they say, please kogere mu Luganda. I don't know how I'm going to define science, technology, and innovation. Maybe ngedagamba nti okusayansa, okuyiya, something like that. Tuchikozesa okuteeka mu nkola SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So we are looking at how, using science, technology, and innovation, we can actually accelerate the implementation of the SDGs. So I'm very happy to inform you that we have got experts here. But among the experts, you know, among the bulls, there is normally the chief bull. Among the experts, I've got Professor Ariho, who is going to introduce himself, after which he will give us the keynote address so that he can position all of us for this afternoon. Professor Ariho, please. Thank you.
Thanks, our moderator of this session. Allow me to observe the protocol in house before I start my paper. She said I need to introduce myself once again. I'm Professor Alex Ariho. I'm the CEO of AIN. AIN is the African Agribusiness Incubators Network, one of the technical arms of the African Union, based in Accra, Ghana. Basically, we support the incubation activities in 55 member states, focusing on job and employment creation, looking at engaging, of course, research institutions, policy organizations, the private sector, and the regional economic communities to realize the African Union Agenda 2063 and other instruments, including Sustainable Development Goals. I'm Ugandan by nationality, and happy to be here today, and thanks for the organizers for inviting me to be part of this discussion. And I'm happy to see a number of people that I know in this house, but I'm going to be very brief and focus on the topic of today, which is about leveraging science, technology, and innovations for accelerated delivery. The moderator posed the question, the kind of science that I would like to discuss and talk about. But I want to simplify it and say we're going to focus on Sustainable Development Goal number 9, but which is looking at the science that brings food on table, money in your pocket, that ensures health, education, environment, and inclusivity. So that's the kind of science that I would like to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you that we're at midway of 2030 of the Sustainable Development Goals. But at the same time, the SDGs are in trouble, a very deep trouble, because you heard from the report today, 2022 report of UN indicates that 140 targets with data shows that about 12% are only on track. That's why I'm saying we're in trouble. Close 50% shows progress, but only 30% have either seen the movement or regressed. So that shows that there is a lot to do together, and that's the reason why I said I must be part of this discussion that can share experience, knowledge, and at the same time practices that can be done across the continent and Uganda as well. Where are we as Africa? We appreciate at continental level that Sustainable Development Goals continues to be a critical guiding instrument that is helping to forge the future, to provide the direction for the future of Africa and for the future of Uganda and the future of Africans in general and other parts of the world. But at the same time, the SDGs again provides a framework upon which national countries are developing their national development plans, and therefore it's a guide that is leading to private sector, the public sector, to commit resources to support the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. That is not enough. We see again the SDGs in Africa working as a fundamental tool to guide the collaboration, the partnerships that are able to gear the government, the civil society organizations, the private sector, the development partners, again, to commit resources that are geared towards the realization of Sustainable Development Goals. It is important that today we are all focusing on the aspect of leaving no one behind. This is a big challenge. It's a big challenge to me. It's a big challenge for you. And this is not something that we can attain individually. It requires collective responsibility, and therefore we need to look at it holistically. And I'm happy with the presentation of Jeffrey Sachs. He highlighted a number of aspects that we need to look at, and that's the reason why we look at Sustainable Development Goals as a framework that provides the aspects that we need to attain, including poverty eradication, education, health, gender, clean energy, sustainable cities, and climate action. And I think he summarized that in his presentation, and he said, let's look at 6 major aspects. But again, he emphasized education, which is very, very important. So before we talk about science, it is important to understand and appreciate that when we talk about science, then it goes hand in hand with innovation. And when we talk about innovation, what are we looking at? We are looking at breaking the status quo in simple terms. What is it that we can do differently? I usually share with colleagues, and I must emphasize that if you plant yam, you don't expect to harvest cassava. Moderator, if we do things the same way, I don't expect different results. So it is one thing to talk about leaving nobody behind, but what are we doing collectively to ensure that we don't leave anybody behind? And therefore, the science, the innovation we are talking about calls for action of doing things differently. It must be informed by information, putting resources together, and definitely it requires that kind of unique approach of doing things, and that defines innovation. Indeed, if I would ask the public here, in terms of innovation, in the area of movement, then you would say that would require a fast horse to make you run faster and reach where you're going. But that's not the case. It's about the systems, the approaches that should take us together to where we need to be as Africa, as Uganda, and therefore innovation calls us to look at that in that direction. And therefore the role of science is supposed to support the advancing of research and knowledge, promoting sustainable development, enhancing productivity and efficiency. Very, very, very important. So when you talk about science, we need to see productivity. We need to see improvement in terms of delivery, the turnaround of doing business. We need to strengthen the resilience in terms of our economies, in terms of our standards of living. How would we bridge the information gap? I'm happy the team from Makere represented and indicated the role of labs and the business clinics. We must bridge the gap between research, academia, and the private sector. The universities in Africa and outside, including Uganda, there is a big gap. They have become ivory towers of knowledge with no connectivity with the community. It's high time that we bridge that gap. Research institutions are operating in isolation. This is the time to connect and foster innovation ecosystems. And therefore, the ecosystem we are talking about to drive science is the ecosystem that requires the contribution of each of us in this hall and the rest that are not here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at agriculture in Africa, the power of science and technology and innovation in Africa is playing a fundamental role. And this is happening in Uganda and it's happening in other countries in Africa. A case in point, look at the digital solutions that are in agriculture and providing jobs to young people. Some countries are able to deliver seed, they're able to collect seed, they're able to do irrigation, they're able to do monitoring using ICT innovations. Where are we? We still see vehicles, 10 vehicles going for monitoring and evaluation. Fuel is banned, per diem is banned, and yet you can use that money to finance 2 enterprises. Why you are not applying technology? You can send a drone to do the monitoring and capture the data. We need to do things differently if we expect different results. And therefore, precision agriculture is very important. Agro-processing is very critical. We continue to look at our products, export them as raw material, and therefore, we are promoting people to become poor. By poor, meaning passing over opportunities repeatedly to other people. And then you talk about leaving nobody behind. No. We need to start adding value to our products if we expect different results, because once we add value, you create jobs for our people. It is important that we appreciate the context upon which the science, innovation, technology is operating. And I'm happy to note within that context that the instruments at national level, a case of Uganda, we have got NP3, it provides that framework very well. If you look at African Union agenda, the context is clear. Look at SDGs, the context is clear. The Uganda Vision 2040, the context is clear. What is missing? What is missing is doing things differently to take advantage of the neighboring environment, the policy framework that will allow the utilization of science and innovation to create opportunities for young people, to create employment and wealth. I want to give an example and just look at Uganda's response. There are a lot of innovations. Take an example of what Uganda Industrial Research Institute is doing. I took that picture from the visit of the president to see some of the innovations that are being done at Uganda Industrial Research Institute. But very unfortunate, when I visited, I also discovered that the number of Ugandans just here, people come from other countries to see what is just next door, but the majority of Ugandans have not visited similar facilities. There is no way we talk about transformation without accessing relevant innovations, technologies, and interacting with the same experts that are developing same technologies. Look at the Ministry of Trade. There is a strategy for strengthening SMEs. How would we make sure that the SMEs in Uganda become competitive to take advantage of different markets across the region? I'm happy that Makerere University is responding now by coming up with what you call Makerere University Research and Innovation Fund. Africa in general, we have spent 50 years spending money on research for development, IR4D. When are we going to move to start investing in research for business development? We cannot continue to look at Africa as a pilot, as a lab. Anything you want to do, let's pilot and see how it will work. You write a proposal, I tell you, well, let's see, we need to work. African Uganda is not a pilot, it's not a lab. We must scale. We must move from a prototype mindset thinking of research and innovation to scalability of innovations that bring money, that will create employment for young people and create wealth for our people. And that is something that is possible as long as we do things differently. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call innovation success drivers. Very, very, very important. But the value of an idea lies in using it. So many publications, so many strategies, frameworks, but how do we make sure that we use these frameworks to attain the Sustainable Development Goals? And therefore, innovation can only work if we're able to use the same innovations. How are we responding to the market? Very, very important to research, develop, but at the same time respond to the market demands. I was discussing with colleagues, we are now busy, there's a huge drive to do skilling. But at times people are skilled and produce products that are not demanded by the market. Ladies and gentlemen, we are recycling poverty. It is important to look at the market demands, skill such that we meet and address the needs of the society and the needs of the market. And that is critical for the success of innovation. Discovery is very important, but also innovations must solve community problems or societal problems. That is when we can say that's an innovation that is very relevant for society. I did mention about the importance of market investment-driven approaches. We need to start looking at the markets and respond. The Sustainable Development Goals provides an opportunity for us to look at development holistically. But as we do that, within the ecosystem of Sustainable Development Goals, new products come into force. And therefore, the knowledge economy remains to be fundamental. But if I talk about market response, what do I mean? Look around your table. A number of you are carrying Samsung phone. There is Samsung. For Samsung, they became very strategic. They say there is Samsung 1. Next year, Samsung 2. Why? They will have seen Dr. Calist. They know that his economy is increasing and he's economically becoming stable, and therefore they say his class is now for Samsung 3. But you ask Nokia, you ask BlackBerry, what happened? They failed to look at the market, and therefore they maintained what you call the status quo. These innovations, you must continue to change. We are working with a dynamic world. The youth are demanding different approaches, but you want to continue applying the 1960 approaches in addressing the problems of today. It's very unfortunate. We must change. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at history, innovation does not come just from giving incentives. It comes from creating environments where ideas can connect. I want to give you 1 minute to look around your table. I know some of you have been seated there the whole day, but you have not even greeted the person you are seated with. If I ask around, you'll start talking about business cards. It's not about the business card. It's not about the job you hold. It is the contact. It is the connectivity. Use the time to connect. And that's the power where we get innovations. How do you connect if you are not able to communicate? Imagine the whole day, since morning. I challenge you. We need to connect together. How do we take advantage of the ICT to maximize, boost our trade across Africa and create opportunities? Because Sustainable Development Goals realization is going to create definitely increased productivity. But where are these products going to go? We are now busy at the continent talking about the Continental Free Trade Area. I visited Mbarara 2 weeks back, and one of the young men was telling me, no, I'm now from Mbarara City. Don't say Mbarara, say Mbarara City. Then I posed the question. That's very good. But what is important is what you are going to do in the city. Ladies and gentlemen, even if the African Union provides free passports to all of you, without knowledge, without a product, you can't go anywhere. We must tell the young people and everybody in this room that we need two things. It is a service or a product. That's how we can become competitive. And therefore, we can trade, we can interact using ICT. It provides a great opportunity for us to boost trade, interconnection, exchange of technologies, commercialization of innovations and science. But again, how much budget are we allocating to science and technology? The other day I was discussing with the Minister of Local Government, and I said, look, in terms of retooling for our staff at the district level, we have got a district planner, we have got a commercial officer, the community development officer. The national planning authority, my colleague, brother, were discussing. I said, look, why don't we also provide a framework to recruit somebody in charge of research and innovation at the district level? Because this is where things are happening. It is not in the AC room. Transformation must take place down here, and we need to address that. Ladies and gentlemen, we must take advantage of our young population. Let's engage the youth, provide incentives, develop models and engagement frameworks that will allow young people to be part of the transformation, to be part of the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but what are the critical success factors for Sustainable Development Goals and looking at advantage of science and innovation? Innovative, positive mindset, very important. We need to look at that and agree that we are living in a dynamic world and we need to change the way we do things. Strategic partnership and collaboration is very, very, very important. And I'm happy the organizers, Dr. Albert, when you look around, you really, I confirm that no wonder you're holding that powerful position, because you can bring connectivity and look at sustainable development goals holistically. And that will lead to a positive strategic partnership and collaboration. But people will continue to ask, what is in it for us? The benefits and incentives are very important to drive transformation and attainment of sustainable development goals. If you continue to talk about paperwork, frameworks, systems, without incentives and benefits, people will not be able to put resources and time. And therefore, it is important to look at what is it that we're going to gain and attain together. There are limitations. Dr. Albert did mention about this, I'm not going to repeat. But what is important is collective responsibility to address the constraints. We'll never have enough resources to address the problems across the world. But it is important to use what we have in a sustainable way and in the most cost-effective way. And therefore, value for money is very, very important. The real work of social innovation is to fix unbroken human systems. And that's why people are talking about mutual accountability, value for money, the procurement system that you're talking about. How do we fix the unbroken, the broken human systems at different levels? The RDC, the RCC Mbarara, Robert, thank you so much. You're trying to fix issues at the ground level. When you visit his area, you realize that they are doing something. Call for action. We need to be committed to what we say and what we do. Strategic collaborative efforts are very, very important. And therefore, we need to pioneer. Some of the things are new. Some of us, we fear risks. Please get out of the norm. Pioneer. My sister from Ghana, you know very well, Elsie, that for Ghana, they went for one district, one factory, and now they had to attach an incubator to incubate businesses out of the ecosystem within a particular district. And they are moving. We need to learn from one another and take some action. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, looking into the future, I would like to recommend the following. One, deliberate effort and strategies to engage the youth and women is very important. Whether we like it or not, we need to do different things for us to engage young people. Increased financing is very important, and this is supposed to be done from local, regional, and national level. There is piecemeal support. We need to deliberately do that. We must also forge public-private sector partnership, and I'm happy to see a number of development partners here that are supporting the efforts of this country and the continent as a whole. We are grateful. We need to bridge the gap between academia, private sector, and the community and policymakers. We need to value the importance of skills, knowledge, and competencies towards the realization of sustainable development goals. I thank you.
I'm sure you have heard it all. I'm not even going to attempt to summarize. All I'm going to do now is go back where I was. What have you understood? If you have an 8-year-old child or 8-year granddaughter like I do, what will you tell her today's meeting was about? That is one. Two, we are looking at the future. And we all know that the future belongs to the youth. So before I invite anybody else from my panel, I'm going to start with the youth to give us his take on the presentation in the morning. Dr. Sachs what Professor Ariho has just said, but I want him to tell us how we can use, because he's from innovation, how it can be leveraged in order for us to accelerate the SDGs. Let me be specific. For me, because I've said that the future belongs to the young, but the now belongs to us, the old people. You know, when we talk about innovation, science, and technology, what would make sense to me is something which applies to my life. And right now, those of you who know me know I've been talking about this for the last 1 month. Right now, as women from Eastern and Southern Africa, we have a problem which you, our young scientists and innovators, should help us solve. The whole of that region eats posho every single day, from Kenya all the way to South Africa. They have just had lunch and they ate posho. My grandmother mingled posho using a mingling stick in a pot. My mother did the same. Former Minister of Agriculture, I'm still mingling posho with a stick. Can I ask if science, because we are talking about food security, we are talking about energy saving, we are talking about water. Can you, the scientists, you, especially you, the youth, come up with some innovation which is relevant to us? Over to you, Mr. Kawanguzi, the youth.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I don't know if I'm much of a youth, but I represent a big segment of young people that I work with who are confidently youth. Allow me to observe the protocols that have already been observed. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, my name is Japheth Kawanguzi, and I lead an organization called Innovation Village. Innovation Village is a destination. We believe that Uganda's brightest and boldest young people, the youth, come to build solutions for problems we face as a country, as businesses, and even government. We are located in 5 areas, regions in the country. In Gulu, where we established in one of the former biggest bars in town. We set up an innovation hub there where young entrepreneurs build solutions. In Barara, in Jinja, in Tinda, and Motive, which is a creative hub for innovators. Now, thinking of what message, especially in the context of the SDGs, for a young person, for us, it is really simple if I'm speaking to that 8-year-old young person, innovator. I think for us, this is the best moment or time for us to be innovating and building solutions. Everything we do at Innovation Village hinges on SDG 9, industry, innovation, infrastructure. And we believe, or from everything we've observed, innovators are not able to build solutions that are sustainable without the relevant infrastructure for them to innovate. When I talk of infrastructure, looking at do they have the appropriate capital for them to build solutions? Do they have the appropriate policy for them to be able to start and grow and be incentivized as they build solution? You'll see that a lot of the approaches that have been deployed to support innovation and entrepreneurship mostly come from let's train them. So we're looking at a generation of overtrained, underfunded innovators who are not able to take the ideas they have to the next level. So when we set up the Innovation Village, we came from a context of we shall not identify as a typical incubation center, because you cannot establish one where the environment where typical innovation hubs exist is not. So we took a very deliberate effort to be able to engage government, to be able to engage stakeholders, partners, such that we can begin to unlock the opportunities or the environment that entrepreneurs need to exist in. And the very fact that I am here, for me, is a demonstration of the great milestones we've been able to take, especially working with the government. We're grateful to a lot of the opportunities and the environment that has been created. It's been a long journey to get to where we are, but at the moment we're able to list a series of partnerships and activities that we're doing with various government agencies. Of course, beginning with the Ministry of ICT, that we've worked to establish, especially around the policy environment. So from my context, looking at the work we're doing around SDG 9, we see technology not as the end, but technology being the means to the end. And we exist to champion the role entrepreneurs play in achieving the SDGs. We believe that entrepreneurs are that secret weapon, if I may say, that will enable us to accelerate opportunities for achievement of the SDGs. And the reason I say this is for every SDG that is out there, no hunger, education, I'm able to give you an example of an entrepreneur who's working in what we call 26 hours a day to solve that problem. So we are grateful for the support that has been rendered to create the environment, but I believe there's more work that can be done to accelerate the environment for entrepreneurs such that we can achieve the SDGs. But I think the greatest resource we have are the very young people who we are already working with. So it's important that we focus on accelerating the environment in which they are innovating, such that we can, again, accelerate the achievement of the SDGs. Thank you.
You have heard it all. I hope it is clearer than it was before. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Kimani Muturi, who is an experienced entrepreneur, to share how all this brings it all home. Basically because he has been there, he has used it, he has done it, and he has used something which is very basic. We couldn't have gotten a better entrepreneur than Mr. Kimani. Over to you, Mr. Kimani.
Thank you so much, the moderator and protocol observed. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my experience of a journey I took as an innovator, and I hope that this journey will open up the minds of other innovators or people who would be sitting there, and they can be actually innovators without knowing. First of all, I want to pick it up from where Professor Alex left it, that SDGs can be used as a source of innovations and development. When you look at SDGs from the first one up to the last one, and you go deeper in them, then you can actually create a business. I encourage the people I work with, and specifically the youth, to look at everything as a source of, as a raw material for making something. And it sometimes disturbs me, because when you look around your home, what have you made? The matchstick that you use is not yours, you bought it. The saucepan you use, you bought it. The charcoal or the source of energy, you bought it. The food, actually, most of us in this city, we buy, okay? So basically, the clothing you're wearing, the phone you're wearing, the mattress you're using, the blanket you're using, everything is, you have actually bought them. You bought them from some people who are making them. Now, have you ever thought whether you can also make and also have other people consume your own product? Because I think we have a problem among the youths. And this problem, I think, is what the government is trying to solve. And we're also trying to accelerate that through SDGs and trying to expand how these SDGs can help them. This country is well known of consuming bananas, production and consumption of bananas. We rate the best country in terms of banana consumption at a rate of 0.6 kg per person per day. I'm sure most of us have eaten matoke this lunch. I too have eaten matoke during lunch. And that tells me that there is a stem that is lying on the ground where that fruit was harvested. And if that stem is not used for mulching, that stem is wasted. And sometimes the seeds of this stem find their ways to the city, and we have seen them in the city markets. I picked a concern way before 2009, and I started trying to extract fibers from these waste stems. And I've taken over that journey for quite some time. And I've developed a number of products through that experience. The first one was the product. The first product was the fiber. Banana fiber is a product. It is now a product that has demand. And local handicraft makers are trying to source it to also add value and make products. So fiber is a product. Now that fiber, we have managed to spin it into a yarn. A yarn is a thread in textile term. Now that thread can be used for craft industry. It can make hats and can make so many other things. The third product is softening that fiber to the level of cotton, which we have also done. We want to develop a fabric for wear. We want to have a choice whether I want a cotton shirt or a banana fiber shirt. And that is the future of textile industry in this country. We have also used banana fibers to make carpets, and we are well known for making carpets. I work with a number of youths. I work with smallholder farmers who extract these fibers, and then they send to TEXPAD, and then TEXPAD commercializes them, makes products and commercializes those products. We work with more than 30 youths who are at the center, and many others that we have trained across a few districts that produce bananas, including Mbarara and also Shema. We have also made hair extensions from banana fibers, and this is also being uptaken by a number of people in the country here who are now beginning to make those hair extensions. Now, this hair extension is biodegradable. So our ladies, once they wear them, they'll take them back to the garden and they'll be manure for bananas. And I think that is the future of hair extensions globally as we move on. We are trying to look for alternatives that are sustainable, alternatives that can support the source of the raw materials, the production through training and production practices by the youths, and then the marketing. We are busy making vegan leather. It is still work in progress. We have seen people making vegan leathers from plant-based materials, and we also believe that banana fiber is going to be one of the best materials for making vegan leather. This will be a leather alternative that is going to replace, not to replace really, but is going to contribute towards the usage of leather in the country and globally, and this leather is biodegradable. You can imagine where you wear a shoe and then that shoe can degrade in the environment and give actually more humus to the environment. We do this through partnerships. We don't do it alone. We have the thinking, the thoughts of what we can do, but we also build networks around us. We have worked with the UNDP in this, and I want to thank Elsie and her team for supporting our efforts to train the youths in Mbarara and extend these technologies to those youths so that they can also commercialize them and earn their livelihoods. We have worked with AIM, the organization where Professor Alex Ariho leads, and we have been able to commercialize a number of innovations actually to a number of African countries. We are busy working with Busitama University and URI, and we are trying to innovate wet wipes from banana fibers. We are also trying to innovate tea bags from banana fibers, and diapers, sanitary pads, and those paper-based or pulp-based products from banana fibers. Now, during extraction of these fibers, there is a lot of sap that flows out. This sap, we have also realized, when fermented, it becomes very good manure, fertilizer for vegetables. And we have a garden where we are testing this sap, and those vegetables are doing extremely well. We even tried it with maize, and it also did very well. Lastly, I have a friend who is whom we are helping actually, to design a coffin using banana fibers. When they approached us, we thought this was not a good idea. No, we Africans, we don't discuss death and how you'll be buried. But this man comes with an idea. He wants to make a coffin from banana fiber. And we told him, okay, so exactly what do you want to do? And he was like, yeah, can you imagine? He has a very good point, because how many trees die in this country because Ugandans are dying and they have to be buried with coffins made of wood? He has done all that calculations, and he's saying, look here, we need to biodegrade with biodegradable materials that are sustainably sought. I think I'll stop there, and I'll be available for any other engagement. Thank you.
It is all coming together now. You have heard what innovators can do. Thank you very much, Mr. Kimani. I will now go to the United Nations. And Madam PS, for your information, you are the host, so you'll be wrapping it all up, because whatever they are suggesting and whatever they are asking, the buck stops with you. Okay, I will now call upon Mr. Heriberto Tapia, who is in charge of Research and Strategic Partnership Advisor at UNDP. As I said, it took years for the world to come to this conclusion of the SDGs, which are actually 17. And I hear they are increasing by the day. But the one organization which was at the top of this at all times was UNDP. So since this has been your baby from time immemorial, could you please give us your take on this topic? Thanks.
Thank you, Victoria, Your Excellency. So I was saying that in the provocations by Professor Ariho, he was saying that we are facing a context in which we have very limited data, and this poses difficulties to implement the agenda and leaving no one behind. So he was also pushing us to think in a different way. So my response is, let's imagine that eventually we are not in a situation of data scarcity, and we are in a situation of data abundance. And this is important because probably we are entering into this stage, and this is going to force us also to innovate not only in terms of data, but also in terms of the policies that we are going to be implementing. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this is possible, and we have prepared some slides. So this is a platform that we have launched just a few months ago. It's called Human Climate Horizons, and intends to reflect what are the effects of climate change on people. And this platform comprises data for the whole world, for small locations, and it gives projections for the effects of climate change on people from now to the end of the century. So now we have an approximation of how we're going to be affected by climate change in every part of the world. So let me give you an example of the type of conclusion that we get from this. So in terms of mortality, the mortality that is caused only by the effect of temperatures, we have that mortality rates are expected to rise in many parts of the world, in Arab states, South Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, very considerably. But in other parts of the world, these changes are not going to be as big. And actually, in the case of developed countries, there would be a reduction in mortality rates because of climate change. We are calling this an inequality bomb that is going to be produced by climate change. However, we can act upon this. This chart shows what is the payoff of doing mitigation. And you can see again that in sub-Saharan Africa, we can have the biggest payoff in terms of avoiding the loss of deaths. And this is, again, something very important to trigger international negotiations. But what happens within country? This platform gives us information about the situation in every locality of the world. Here you can see the situation in Uganda. So in the parts of the countries in blue, we see that the effects are going to be actually negative. So meaning climate change is going to cause a reduction in mortalities. But in the parts in orange, we see the opposite. There will be increases in mortality because of changes in temperatures. So this is going to force all of us to think differently about how we tackle the effects of climate change. This data is already available. You can access it. Our plan is to keep adding new layers of information. We plan to launch in the next few months information about what's going to happen with agriculture. We already have information what's going to happen with energy consumption, what's happening with labor productivity. Second example. Until now, our office, the Human Development Report Office, has been producing the Human Development Index. We produce this for every country, 191 countries. Now, using satellite images and artificial intelligence, we can expand the localization of the Human Development Index. So we can go to province level, more than 1,700 units in the world. We can go to the municipality level, more than 60,000 units in the world. And we can go to even grid level, more than 800,000 units in the world. So this is really revolutionary. So the message that I want to leave with you is that increasingly there is a possibility of going into a situation of abundance of data, but this is just the beginning, because now we need to think what we do with it, and this is the call that I leave to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heriberto. Yeah, it is now my honor to invite Dr. Wakabi Wayiragala, Executive Director, the Collaboration on International ICT Policy for East and Southern Africa. Madam Vice President, I've told these people that for me, I'm old. So when I see things like these, I want something tangible. So I'm asking, out of these SDGs, what can we old women get? And I made a very simple request. Can somebody come up with some technology where you can sit there and press a button in your house and the Porsche starts mingling itself? Thank you. Over to you. It's not there? Oh, that one will be for tomorrow. So for now, it is my pleasure actually to put that question to the right person, who is Dr. Amina Zawedde. And I will also ask her the question I asked earlier. When we get out of here, we shall be asked what exactly has been happening here, which is leveraging science, technology, and innovation for accelerated delivery of SDGs and Agenda 2063. I tried to say it in Uganda and I failed, but she is a Muganda and she is from ICT. Can you please gonza mu bitukwatirako wa, what is in it for us? Thank you. Over to you, Madam Zawedde.
Thank you very much, Moderator. Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, the honorable ministers present here today, the diplomatic corps, all protocol observed, riding from the previous protocol that was given. Good evening to you all. I have always prayed for this opportunity to discuss digitization when we have the political leadership, when we have the technical people, development partners, academia, religious leaders, it doesn't come easy, or it never happens. So many times they say, that is a technical people's thing. But today I am here, Dr. Ssekitoleeko, to inform this audience that, when we talk about digitalization, when we talk about technology and science, it is not a technical affair, but it is an affair for everybody. In Uganda, I think Uganda has been known for being innovative. When we're still children, or whoever has been a child in Uganda has grown up seeing children in the villages make a football out of banana fiber, make toy cars out of wires, and they play games and enjoy. But just imagine if all that effort had been, nurtured and developed to come up with, to manufacture products that we can use that are very cheap, will create employment opportunities for our youth, and then we'll get everybody engaged. When we talk about digital, people think it is for the young people. Well, it partly is because the majority of our population in Uganda today are young people, and therefore we have to get solutions for them, or to create an environment where they can thrive. This environment can only be nurtured by the political leadership. The speeches we have had today have spoken to and emphasized the importance of digitization, the importance of us creating an environment that supports and nurtures innovations, and this and also the importance of investing in this environment has also been emphasized. The good thing is that as a country, we know and have prioritized digitization. But now I want to step aside and speak like the audience, the public, the old people out there, the young people. How much have we invested in government to commensurate with the importance we are attaching to digitization? I don't think it is heavy enough to test the significance. That is the reality. If we make a reality check. Last week, I had an opportunity to visit the Philippines. The Philippines is a country that is the second biggest in generating revenue out of what we call business process outsourcing. The president of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, knows that if we strengthen the opportunities within business process outsourcing, we can create employment opportunities for our people. What does business process outsourcing mean? It is, I'm going to use the acronym BPO going forward. Now, this is where, as if you have a business, we all have homes. We are mothers, we are fathers. As mothers, we can cook. As fathers, we can slash the compound. But because of our busy schedules, because you have to go and look for maybe fees for the children, you outsource this function and bring a gardener. You bring a house help to help you do that so that you concentrate on what you have to do to bring money into the home. So even business process outsourcing is the same. When you have an organization, there are some core functions that you need to do. So you don't waste time on small things that you can outsource to other businesses. It is a global opportunity that has been embraced by so many people, so many governments, so many companies. Now the Philippines, I think when you go to the Middle East, where we are sending young children to go and do, the casual jobs, you find so many Philippines there. But they are not only doing it for casual jobs, they are also exporting their services to the US as nurses. They are doing so for accounting, for finance and administration, etc. So Uganda has a lot of potential in doing this. We have very many young people, they are skilled and educated, they speak good English, and most of the globe, I think, uses English as an international language. So we can easily fit into these spaces. But the disadvantage we have is that we have not we have not created an environment to attract people enough to be able to support this program. Government has to create incentives. You know, there is a lot, aside from BPO, there is a lot that government can do to nurture the innovators. Even giving internet for free is one thing. You know, reducing the cost of devices, of computers, is another thing, because if you have the computers, if you have the smartphone, if you have access to cheap data, then you can do a lot of things online. Dr. Ssekitoleeko said, you know, what would the young people go out of here knowing? Maybe they could go out of here knowing that if we have that environment where we can do anything we want to do cheaply, then we can be able to do it better. One of my professors used to say that, you know, when you want milk from a cow, you have to give it healthy grass. But if the grass comes at a cost, then that you will get limited milk from that cow. So what sometimes governments do is that they try to tax everything. They tax the devices, they tax the data, they tax, you know, at the end of the day, you find very few people going online. You find very few people can use these devices because they are not affordable. So my question, plea to the political leadership, Your Excellency, the Vice President and the ministers in cabinet as you discuss, please let us have an intentional drive as government to create an enabling environment for our young people, to develop the innovations, to nurture them. They cannot do it if they can't afford a phone. They can't do it if they can't afford a laptop. They can't do it if data is expensive. But if they do, then we'll get so many, you know, a lot of jobs created online, a lot of services developed. Then you go and tax those ones. We shall get a lot of money. What the Philippines has done, I think it's earning about 50 million per year towards that business process outsourcing, leveraging on ICT, because they have taken a deliberate effort to put up even structures or buildings where people go and sit and do, you know, this kind of work. When we get investors here, many of them are not interested in maybe setting up putting up the buildings because they're expensive. But if they find ready facilities, and of course, government has to work together with the private sector, with development partners, academia to make this happen. They come to me saying, you know, we want to support you, but if the direction is not clear, if the support is not pronounced, then it becomes difficult. Because I'll go and market and say we have incentives, and then Free Zones Authority tells me, that incentive you promised is actually not on record. So that is the plea that I make and give to our political leadership. We have taken great strides in digitization as a country, and I would like to paint a picture with statistics. As a country, Uganda's, they call it the GovTech Maturity Index. The Governance Technology Maturity Index value has risen from 0.639 in 2020 to 0.858 in 2022. And Uganda has moved from Group B to Group A under the GovTech Leaders World Bank Maturity Index report of 2022. Many times we say Uganda is not doing well, but you know, in those global reports, we are actually doing a good job. And therefore, if the environment is made more favorable, we'll find ourselves grow bigger. Mobile subscriptions of phones have increased from 22.37 million in 2016 to now 31.26. That means everyone has, you know, many people have mobile phones, but what are they using them for? You know, they are doing WhatsApping, rumor mongering, all these other kind of things. But if they put, you know, if we have a structured environment and intended purpose on what they can use these gadgets for, we can get a lot out of this. Internet penetration has also increased from 25.03% in 2016 to 55% in 2022. Then we have what we call the broadband coverage, where you get 2G internet or 3G, 5G. This one, we're not yet at 5G. I don't want to be misquoted. But yeah, this one is at now, the coverage is at 89%. Although these statistics look so good, we have taken our strides. We should clap for ourselves, please. Although we have taken these strides in the digital journey, we still have a lot to be done in order for us to realize our Vision 2040 and for us to realize our digital Uganda vision. Our targets are really optimistic or ambitious. We are saying that by 2030, we want to have 90% broadband coverage. We want to have 85% of government services online, and not only online, but speaking to each other, so that you don't have to give your personal records to every office that you walk to. We want to have 70% of industry skills requirements addressed. There was one of the speakers we had who said, you know, we have so many skilled people, but the skills don't speak to what industry demands. So we have to work on that as well. And then we want to have 60% utilization of local ICT products and services, as well as innovations. So the mingling technology we are talking about has to come in these 60%. We have talked about the need of utilization of data. In that regard, the Ministry of ICT, together with UBOS, we have developed the Parish Development Management Information System. And that system has been developed by our own Ugandans. We are collecting data and registering each and every household. We are profiling parishes to get to know what infrastructure is there, so that, you know, what facilities or services are there, so that at the end of the day, when Cabinet is planning and discussing, they come up with informed decisions based on the data that we have. Just imagine one day by a click of a button, you know that, you know, next year we plan to build 10 schools or 50 schools. This is exactly where we are going to put them because the data shows so. Or we are going to set up regional hubs. This is exactly where we are going to put them because we have the data. Right now it is a struggle, so you find that that is the reason why I have engaged with development partners when we are developing what we call the digital transformation roadmap. Thank you, UNDP has supported us on that. I will talk a little bit about it. I was saying that, you know, development partners, you have supported us in several initiatives to support the digital agenda. But because we are not structured, you find that the support is duplicated. You go in some sectors where you find 3 development partners are funding the same project. Why? Because we don't have data or information to let us know that, you know, so some individuals, because some projects are done by individuals. They know some individuals thought about this project and they are running the same project over these people. But if we have a structured place and we bring all of you in one room and say, development partners, these are our challenges, then we'll be able to run faster in the digital transformation agenda. So what the Ministry of ICT has done is that we have come up with a roadmap for digital transformation. And this roadmap, with the support of UNDP and other development partners, together with the input of various stakeholders, academia, industry, government, civil society, we are saying that our key focus areas as a country to digitization include digital infrastructure and connectivity. They include digital services, because we have to take services online, both for government and the private sector. We have to do, as we set up these systems and services, they have to be secure. So we also have to develop competence in cybersecurity and privacy. Then we have to do digital skilling, and then we also have to focus on innovations, entrepreneurship, and research. So when we have our categories clear, then the development partners will come and say, you know, as a team, we are interested in this, you know, one or a team are interested in a particular sector, and we all work together towards achieving that. And before we know it, we'll see that Uganda will run faster than we are saying that we need to get to 2030, to what we have to achieve in 2030. We shall get there faster than we would have if we move in a structured manner. So, ladies and gentlemen, we strongly believe that once implemented in coherency, and collaboration, the digital transformation roadmap and agenda shall help us to achieve the aspirations and targets of our digital Uganda visions as well as the sustainable development goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amina Zawedde, Permanent Secretary ICT. I'm sure she has done a very good service. Your Excellency, the Vice President, allow me to make just 2 comments which are from me, then take 2 questions, then Madam Senator will sum up. My first question, which is actually a request, is about a public announcement which goes out every single day on most of the radios and televisions about vitamin A. The announcement says, if you take your child who is less than 5 years old for immunization, we shall give her vitamin A. When we were growing up, our grandparents used to give everybody, old, young, and pregnant, vitamin A. Since when did we change so that vitamin A is given as a tablet? And how sustainable is it? Okay, when you give the 5-year-old the vitamin A, who is going to give me the 70-year-old? Could you, madam, make that announcement a bit more sustainable, since we are talking about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals? Could you tell Ugandans what to eat every single day so that they can have this vitamin A? Because the carrots are there. I mean, you see them, everybody sees them. The pumpkins are there. All that yellow stuff is vitamin A. But here we are importing tablets. For how long are we going to import tablets? That is one comment. My second comment is about duplication, which nearly everybody has talked about here. There are several technical colleges in Uganda. I come from Nakawa. In Nakawa, we have got the most beautiful, well-equipped technical colleges. Nakawa College, the Vocational College. There are 4 of them within walking distance from Nakawa Market. But then now we have something at Indere Troop, which is temporary, and it is called the Presidential Skilling Center. Why can't we put these resources in those colleges which are there? Because some time back, I understood that government of Uganda had a policy where we are going to have a technical college in every sub-county. Now, while that is being implemented, we hear of these 17 skilling centers. Is it possible to stop duplication and instead equip those colleges, make sure that they are really equipped with the right human resources, that the technology which is there is used? Because if you go to Kawasanda and you find all those new machines just sitting there, you go to Namtumba, Basoga the Technical College, and you find less than 100 students there. Then you go and set up a skilling center. To me, it doesn't make sense. So now that I've got this opportunity, I have brought this to you, and I will leave it there. Please allow me to invite Honorable Msenero to come and wrap it all up. And please try and tell the press in local language what they will report today. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of Uganda, colleague ministers, allow me to follow the protocol because of time. I want to appreciate being here today, to be invited to say something to wrap up. I apologize that I missed part of the panel to capture many of the things because I was given a sudden assignment today. I would like to, therefore, just wrap up what science is doing towards the SDGs. Now, frequently, many people confuse the Ministry of ICT with the Science, Technology, and Innovation. There are 2 ministries. There are 2 different entities. So, Science, Technology, and Innovation is a secretariat under the Office of the President, and I'm the minister in charge. My accounting officer is the State House Comptroller. I would like to, but the subject of science, for me, is not a job, it's a passion. And Over the past so many years, the government of Uganda, especially led by His Excellency the Vice President, has taken very deliberate efforts to make science work for us. Why? Because it is known and strongly documented that no country develops without developing their science, technology, and innovation. Because we are given everything in a raw material form. And we have three categories of raw materials. We have the ones that come from nature. Energy, we have the soil, we have the sun, we have so many things all around us. Those materials are given to us in a raw form. And the value a nation benefits from those resources depends on how they apply knowledge. And knowledge is science. Technology are the tools that come from the knowledge of science. And then innovation is how you combine that knowledge with the tools you have to solve the problems that you have. So those are the three aspects that science, technology, and innovation. So we apply science, the knowledge, the technology, and the innovation to nature so that we can add value. How valuable what we sell depends on the quality and quantity of that technology. If you apply very little, you still sell raw materials. For example, we have very fertile soils. If I just grow matoke and sell, the value is there, but very little. Those nations that apply more and more and more, they'll sell you matoke and you don't even know that you're eating matoke. And the value of one finger of a banana, you are buying it at a greater value than a bunch. The other resource we have is the human resource. And the third resource is time. Because science, technology, those three help us to amplify. How does science, technology, and innovation help our country to develop and therefore attain the SDGs? Among the SDGs, we have one which focuses on this particular aspect, SDG 9. It focuses on development of industry, innovation, and infrastructure. That's where we are encapsulated. But now they touch, actually, STI touches every SDG because it is the amplifier. It's the one that is, if you talk about number one, you're talking about poverty. How are you going to remove poverty? You're talking about hunger. How are you going to deal with hunger? Unless you apply science. So I would like to just say that in terms of Uganda, and maybe representing Africa and many of the underdeveloped countries, that difference between developed countries and underdeveloped countries can be redefined as countries that have not yet harnessed science and those which have harnessed science. When we talk about development, we are just talking about how countries have been able to harness science, technology, and innovation to create wealth in their countries. And the underdeveloped ones are the ones that have not yet been able to do it. And for me, once we came to that recognition, then we were able to define what science, technology, and innovation should be doing for Uganda. Two things: address our challenges of poverty and the mperekezi. Mperekezi are the escorts which go hunger, disease. If we can harness science to address the challenge of poverty. And then the second one is to address underdevelopment. And then we were able to go back and begin to see, how does this happen? How do we, because I found science, we have invested quite a lot, but the alignment for it to address these problems was still premature. It was not young, it was not mature. And I would just like to spend just a few minutes to share with us some of the things that we have been doing. The first challenge was coordination. The science touches every sector because our PS here has spoken. Now there is science in ICT, there is science in agriculture, there is science in health, there is science in engineering, in Ministry of Works, everywhere. And the coordination of that to align priorities for us as a nation was very, very critical. And we have moved quite a long way in making sure that we are well coordinated and we have a national agenda. And although it is disseminated, it is working very, very coordinated. And for that, His Excellency, the President, came up and summed the areas of focus that science should be giving us and should be focusing on. And that is, there are 8 areas. We have what we call the pathogen economy. Pathogen economy focuses on our ability to develop solutions which deal with health challenges, human health, animal health, and plant health. Till recently, we looked at those things as issues where we need to borrow money and import. However, now we are focusing on developing them. And as I look through the SDGs, we want to see how do we harness our environment and produce medicine. So we have an established pathogen economy now, which we are building. It is still baby, but we are building. The second one is mobility. Everybody came here in a vehicle. And I can safely say 100% of them are imported. Yet this is one of the countries with a lot of resources which go into the vehicle. Actually, when you tabulate the minerals that go into the vehicle, possibly Uganda has 90% of them. But we didn't. I said it comes from looking at your environment. So we have developed our mobility industry. We now have our first substantive automotive industry. We are finishing the factory. It should be ready for commissioning. November, December, we are installing the equipment, and we have some of our vehicles made here at home. Now we are working on making sure that we get those resources in the nature, the resources we have, the ones for making batteries, the iron ore, making sure we have used the knowledge and technology to add value to it, and we use it for manufacturing these vehicles. We have made a lot of progress. Some of our buses, you've seen them, the Kayola buses, and we are also working on the environment from that approach, sustainable energy. The focus is moving from the current fuel vehicles to moving to electric vehicles, especially in the urban centers. We also have a specific area we call infrastructure innovations that focuses on making sure that we have the knowledge and we have the tools and we have the applications to harnessing minerals, to harnessing. Now, once we develop the technology, we hand it to the Ministry of Energy so that they can apply it, because we found, okay, we need to use our lithium to develop batteries. And the whole issue is, do we know how to? Are we able to? We are now institutionalized that capacity. We are institutionalizing that capacity so that we can now take these things which God has given us and add value. I tell you, selling lithium inside a Kayola bus is more valuable than selling lithium as a raw material. So we are building that capacity. The other area that we are working on is space science. It is known really for most countries, if you don't have eyes in the space, then other people know more about you than you do. and somebody comes and says, I want that area, and you don't know what is there because they have looked at you and you don't know. So last year we launched our first satellite, and we are working this year on developing a lot of the infrastructure that will enable our science. We have refurbished Impoma satellite station. I apologize, I should have brought some pictures to show you. It's when you pass there, you don't remember it is what it was. The other area that we are working on is, we call it productivity acceleration. Our people, the rate of production is low. How do we make these households? So in partnership with Parish Development Model, we accelerate the knowledge of the farmers. We accelerate what they are applying. We are working on the local development of fertilizers. We are working on developing processes from knowledge and coming up with tools that help people produce a lot from very small pieces of land, but also adding value. Adding value. The president has been talking about coffee. As an example, you sell coffee beans, you get $2 per kilo. You add value, you get $25. And sometimes we would look at these processes and think, but for us, we cannot manage. I think one of the things we have done now is to really get the courage and to get the confidence that we can do this. And we are going to do it, and we are doing it. We actually found, we have innovated some products that can even make you earn $100, not just the 25. So we've got the courage, and our institutions are working, our scientists are working. The other area that we are working on is import substitution, looking at things that we import, so that people don't buy imported products because they have no choice. But they may maybe have something, but we want to produce better tomato sauce for you, so that you see the supermarket is full of different varieties of Ugandan tomato sauce. And then you will see American Garden and also that one from Dubai, and you can choose, but we'll give you advantage to support the farmers, because our farmers grow things, we export them as raw materials, we pay them very little. That's why they are trapped in poverty, despite their hard work. And then we have the import substitution, the export of value-added goods. And we are working not across the value chain to make sure that we are not only doing the science, but we are also developing the market, and we are working to make sure. So in collaboration, working together with PASAID and Private Sector Foundation, we are working together to explore what do those markets want. So we'll be opening our first trade hub in Serbia in early next month. And I've already sent to my officers, what is it that they want, which we can make for them? Value added, not raw material, value added, which since we have the raw materials here. So we are making very, very deliberate efforts. In the SDG, they focus on this area only on two things. There are many focus areas, but they only talk about, I can sum them up as infrastructure. So this is one of the areas that the government has now focused on. We are developing infrastructure. And Mama, I want Ssekitoleeko, I want to assure you that we are not duplicating. The population of Uganda is so big, and we have a lot of children who need those infrastructures. The opening up of the presidential hubs does not preclude us making these other vocational institutions very, very functional. The challenge is that they meet, most of those official institutions leave out most of the Ugandans. They are very selective, they are very picky, and sometimes very academic. And when we send somebody to these presidential hubs, within a short time they have the skill to make a living. But actually we have too many children When you look at how many enroll in P1 and how many are in O-level, all those children need skills. So actually we should even have more facilities and make them functional. Make them functional because we cannot leave, isn't it this about leaving no one behind? Yes, we cannot leave them behind. Actually, we are even innovating and hoping to share the innovations with the Minister of Education. We are figuring out how do you pick these dropouts and develop them even though they've dropped out of the formal education system. The other thing we are doing is mindset change. We found that science and technology and innovation, despite a lot of investment in the country, now it's not the same commensurate with the developed countries, but still, especially with the push of His Excellency, we found that the results were not aligning with the investments done. And the biggest issue we had is mindset. Mindset in our academic institutions, and this has been an issue of alignment because our academic institutions strive to be at par with the world. So they fly up and leave the nation down. They operate like they are outside. So you find a lot of research and innovation, but it cannot be applied here because we just don't have the other fundamentals. So the mindset change that science, technology, and innovation should first and foremost be about harnessing what is in your environment, not about sounding very exotic. And so we have innovated what we call the science that works, the science that works development. The science that works development, because most of the science we have had could not help us to develop. It results in publishing. I found statements like a publish or perish. I don't know when my vice president reads the paper published in a high-impact journal in London so that she can be able to make policy here. So the information coming out of the universities was not available for us, it's not relevant to us, so we have now spoken. We have talked over the past 2 years, and now we've changed the mantra. The intermediate was product or perish, but now it's enterprise or perish. And Your Excellency, you are going to see a lot of universities, a lot of institutions coming up with commercial wings because now they need to start industries. They need to have incubations because that's now the push which has come. So mindset change. For mindset change. So that's the only, it has moved a long way. It has actually pushed. So mindset change, infrastructure development, we are now developing a lot of infrastructure. Those of you who take the road to Mbarara, there is a big facility you've seen there. That's our prototype. And after Liantonde there is a big infrastructure there. That's the Technology Development Center. We are also working on developing bioscience centers and agro-industrial parks, such that we have the infrastructure we need. Over the past 2 years, we have multiplied the infrastructure for research in universities and academic and other research institutions over 100 times. This is state of the art. The last thing we have done is to develop a program to reach Juakali. We discovered that the Juakali have hands-on skills. Some of them didn't go to school, but they imagine things, they do them, but because of the way they do them, those things don't make it to the formal market. Now, on the other side, we have a lot of academicians who have a lot of science, but they cannot convert their science into tools. We have brought these two together. And soon we shall unveil some of the products which are coming out of this. We are going to start to unveil, but we want to formalize the program. How do you make the Juakali? At first it was very difficult because these ones speak very sophisticated scientific language. These ones speak theirs over the street. But now, actually, we have produced our first engine, motor vehicle engine, designed in Uganda, and we are integrating it in a Ugandan-made vehicle. So this is a prototype, and I hope to see this accelerated. The challenge that we still have, one, not many people in the country, especially the policymakers and those who control resources, have understood what science can do for the country. And communication has been our challenge. Scientists don't know how to speak. We write our scientific papers, but we are innovating. We are innovation now. We need to solve that problem. The second thing is what we talked about, what Madam Amina talked about. There's so much fragmentation. So much fragmentation. And sometimes when you trace the impact of this investment, for example, I don't know how many entrepreneurship training programs that we have. It's not that being many is difficult, but they are just not coordinated. They just don't speak to each other. And for the development partners, we found a category of people in the country. We call them grantpreneurs. Grantpreneurs. Grantpreneurs they have something, they have a small business or a small innovation, and they will move from development partner to development partner, and they get all the grants, they win grants, but their business never grows. You'll find they have a grant from science technology, they have a grant from UNDP, they have a grant from NNSSF, they have a grant from everywhere, but the business doesn't grow. And when they go to everybody, they tell them the same sad story of how they don't have funding. Now, coordination is going to help us. The resources put in science and innovation in the country are quite significant when we combine what government puts in and what development partners. So we really, really pray to the development partners as we move the SDGs. We now have a very good understanding of how science moves and develops a nation. And we are ready now for investment in science. And we are asking that you support us. And Honorable Lumumba, my report didn't make it. I wanted to come to this meeting with a report of how we have actually moved with these SDGs. But I will pass it to your office when it is ready, fully aligned to all these aspirations and what we are doing and the journey and the gaps. The comprehensive program, we have called it the STI Foundry. A foundry is a place where you melt metals and then mold them into something that you want. So this program has multiple arms. So in the engineering part is what we have come up, that facility I mentioned on the way to Lyantonde is the prototype. We are praying that with support, we can replicate those programs in the region. We call it the Engineering Development Center. So it's being set up. It's going to be launched, handed over to us, completed. The contractors are finishing the work, most of it. Installation of equipment should be done by December, and we open it. Now, in this, individuals come, and first the university students. Most university students studying engineering, when they complete, they don't have sufficient experience with the actual machines they have learned. Most of them, they learn theoretically. So they will go there and get hands-on. It's set up on what we call a flexible industry model. So it is learning by manufacturing. It's learning by doing. So by the time you come out of there, on your CV, you have, and in your hands and in your mind, you translate your knowledge now into skills. Right now, it's not known, but most of our engineering students, when they finish university, they take about 3 years before they are allowed to touch equipment because they go without sufficient skills, sufficient expertise. But this facility we also have for diplomas, for certificates, even for those who are jua kali, but they don't have, they have not had the refined. It's part of what is blending the jua kali with the advanced knowledge, but this time with equipment, state of the art. When we have learned from this facility, we hope to replicate them in the different regions because we want to gain the experiences. We are working together with DIT to make sure that they can certify those skills. We also have some other programs, like we are converting our drivers from taxis and what. We are taking them through a mindset and skills program, because when we introduce our electric vehicles, we are going to convert the same drivers who are driving taxis, but do not have that behavior, which they have now. So we take a number of them to Chira Motors, and they spend about 3 months there learning, and so we have even changed their names from being drivers to being motor vehicle operators. They are motor vehicle operators. So then we also have what we call the incubation centers. Incubation centers are for those who want to work on something very specific. So you come and you sit there, the equipment is there, what you can use, and then you work on your innovation. So we have a number of those. One is Yuri, but we have also working on a number of them. What we want is to accelerate this. And science can accelerate employment. In 2000, when we started to work on pathogen economy, we could hardly find 100 people employed in the line of diagnostics, and were mostly linked to research outside and vaccines and what. I want to report here that in 1 year, since then, in just 2 years, we made that number more than 2,000. These were young people who have trained through universities. They had no jobs. There is a category of people here in the country which they have been training for a long time. They call them industrial chemists. They go through a very rigorous training program, and they're just hanging all over the country. They have no jobs. So we are going to create employment for them. And we hope, I will be providing the statistics now, how many actually jobs we have created. I suspect it's more than 10,000 already over the past 3 years. But as we begin to make the innovations now, employ more people, we hope to accelerate this. But we do not want to leave anybody behind. Anybody with a skill, a willingness, we can give them the skill. And through those presidential innovation, those presidential hubs, they pick the basics, then we take them to these finishing centers so that when we put up a textile industry, they will produce better clothes than the ones that you are wearing from China. Thank you. So we will see how to share most of this information, but we have a lot that has been done and that is being done. We want to thank you.